Hello everyone, welcome to the Everything Dodgeball podcast. I'm your host, Stefan Leitinger, and today I have an absolute treat for you. It's the second Austrian Eagle on the show, the first female one, and I think it's a name everyone recognizes internationally. Some know her as Lisa Leichtfried, some know her as Lisa Leichtfried or other names. So really, I want to introduce one of the absolute legends of this game, one of the most dominant female player of the last 5 years. So welcome to the show, Lisa Leichtfried.
Hello, everybody. I'm very happy to be here, and I'm quite looking forward what to expect in the upcoming 1 to 2 hours.
Awesome. Love it. So first, I have a little bit of a new thing for this podcast. It's really a small step for humanity, but quite a big step for this podcast because I've actually got a sponsor now. And it's one that is quite dear to my heart. Maybe you know them as well. It's Reband. Who provide the Austrian national team also with their knee pads.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And so I've been wearing them for a long time. And since switching, I stopped layering multiple pairs and just use these. So from both a comfort and protection standpoint, they're definitely the best I've ever tried. They're durable, washable, don't restrict movement, and they've saved my knees more times than I can count. So if you don't wear knee pads as of yet or want to try new ones, definitely check them out. So go to Reband.com and check out the product. And with the code Leitinger10, you get 10% off. Yeah, so that is quite cool on my side. So Lisa, tell me a little bit about yourself, your dodgeball journey. How did you get into this sport and what's brought you into this beautiful game?
Okay. So I've been playing dodgeball for about 10 years now. Honestly, I started quite randomly. Like my brother brought me to a fun tournament. Then we ended up winning against you guys, so Nasty Nutcrackers, yes. And shortly after that, I got invited by Daniel Malik for the national team practice. At that time, it was quite easy to join the team because we were a tiny community. And that's where everything really began for me. Obviously, I immediately fell in love with that sport. Like the intensity, the strategy, but especially the community around it made it so special for me. And in the last 10 years, I really figured out that it's one of the most supportive and passionate environments I've been so far. And I really enjoy to be part of the team and to be back on court again because I had a long break, but we will come to that later on, I guess.
Definitely. So Lisa, everyone knows you now for a really like a dominant appearance on the court. You have one of the strongest throws in the women's game. You seem like really just an incredible, powerful and athletic player. So what's your sporting background? Where did you get those attributes from? Or is that just natural genetics?
I started very young with a lot of different kind of sports. I never really found the one. But then I fell in love with dodgeball. But when I started with gymnastics. I was around 3 to 4 years old, so quite young. I stayed there for quite a long time, like 6 to 7 years. Then I tried to play soccer. I mean, I enjoyed it, but it was never really something I adored as much as I adored dodgeball. But I never had a background in handball or volleyball, so it was, I don't know, I never really practiced on my throw. I'm quite lucky, I would say. I mean, obviously, I practice in the dodgeball practice. I train on my arm, but I never did something specific for it. So I'm quite lucky, I would say.
That's fair. So looking back on those last 10 years, when do you feel like you've really figured it out and knew that you were someone who's really good at this sport? So when did you realize that you could really dance with the top?
So I played my first European Championship in 2015. And obviously since that, dodgeball has been a huge part of my life. And I had my ups and downs. Like I really expected a lot from myself. And I always wanted to be in the women's team, but I started in mixed at the beginning. And I tried to really work hard and to show myself at league days and to join as much practice as possible. And I feel like when I really had my come through, it was in Newcastle. I don't remember anymore which year it was, but I think I had 4 to 5 years of experience at that time. And that's when I really feel like my career started somehow.
Mm-hmm. Because I've really distinctive got this in my memory, and I'm really not good with memory, but when I think back to it, there was some point where I was like, okay, Lisa is going to be really good. And it was like, I saw you in training and it was like a raw diamond where you had all the attributes, but it still didn't click completely. But I knew in the next few years, this is going to be awesome. And I think that was around the moment where you had your injury with your thumb afterwards. When was that?
It was before Italy.
Mm-hmm.
That's when I had the injury. That's when I was for the very first time nominated for mixed and women, which made it kind of sad for me not to be able to join the European Championship in Italy. But that was at that time. And I feel like I also started to see myself on court in like under the top 10 in women division after my cruciate ligament rupture. That was in before Glasgow. So I had a few injuries as well, but Italy was the moment when I felt like, okay, I can compete with the other and play on a high level. But then I had the thumb injury and I had a little setback at that time.
Yeah, because I don't know if you remember that, but for some reason I can still really remember. I was back at university and you called me and told me that you were going to do an operation, I think, or something about the thumb injury, that you were not going to be able to play. And I can really sort of remember that moment where I was like, okay, that was the first time where I really felt you would have a very important role on that team and that we're going to miss you.
I think there's maybe a mix up. I had 2 thumb injuries and one needed a surgery, and that was a little bit later. It wasn't the one at Italy. I had my thumb surgery in 2023.
Okay, okay, then it was just the injury and not the surgery, probably.
Because there was no surgery in Italy.
Okay, then it was not the surgery, but maybe the doctors told you have to sit this one out or something like that.
Yeah,
where you decided that you're not going to play. And I remember telling you, okay, you're still young. You've got a lot of good dodgeball ahead of you. It's going to be fine. But that was basically in my mind where I was like, okay, you're going to be a very important person on that team. And then you had obviously a few injury struggles, but I never felt like there was a discussion or a thought about that this is going to hinder you in the long term breaking through.
Yeah, I was kind of used to the fact of fighting back because obviously I had a lot of injuries and it was quite common for me already. So I was used to it. And that's how my dodgeball career was until now.
Okay, so very lucky with the genes on the throwing and athletic side, but also burdened with lots of injuries. Maybe let's dive a little bit into that for a second. Do you attribute that to anything, or why do you think your dodgeball career has been injury ridden this far?
It's not only my dodgeball career. I already started when I was quite young. My mom told me, I think I was about 12 years old, that we need a special insurance for me because I injured myself several times. But it never stopped me on playing dodgeball or doing other sports because I loved to do sports. And yeah, I just took the fact that I injure myself and then I need to come back again. And that was my sports life, basically.
Yeah, because that is also something when I think of you as a player, like the world resilience comes to mind, where I don't think there are many players, especially in the female roster, that have that sort of determination and resilience facing obstacles. And also it's something that maybe really sets you apart in the game, where it's like there is nothing that is gonna break you in a game, basically.
Yeah, I mean, I succeeded on dealing with it quite well, but I had my insecurities and struggles with those injuries, and I had bad days at home, obviously, but there was never an option to stop for me. So I always thought, I want to continue, I want to work on it, and I know that I can come back. And I tried to work on it, and here we are back again.
Absolutely. Yeah, and I think that is an important distinction, because I don't mean that you didn't have those bad days, and like everyone who deals with injuries, it's a tough tough time, and there's going to be sad days and disappointments and everything. And obviously, you have to go through those, but still, like the overarching theme is for you, it's not going to hinder you from doing what you want and coming
Yeah,
back and
exactly.
coming strong. And struggling is a part of that, but like the struggle doesn't keep you down. And it seems like also on the field, that is something that I think your opponents feel, that you might struggle sometimes, but it's never gonna take you out of a game. At least that's sort of a picture that I have from you from the outside.
Yeah, I would agree on that, to be fair. But the last injury, and I think we will come to that, was at the World Cup in 2024. And this really played with my mind. I was thinking about stopping my career, stuff like that, but I'm not at that point yet. I cannot stop. There will be the moment when I will um, stop playing dodgeball, but not yet, honestly. I'm into dodgeball too much, and I have so much FOMO when I'm not on court. I could not imagine myself not playing dodgeball right now. So that's what it is right now.
All right, so let's jump into that last injury, because obviously it was sort of your peak, or in your prime of your at least dodgeball career up to this point, and was like, obviously it was in Graz, home world championships. Take me a little bit through that tournament and how it played up to that moment.
So I really, really love to think back to the World Cup in 2024 in Graz. Just a week ago or 2 weeks ago, I talked with Anna about it, and I feel like it was one of the best moments I ever experienced in my life. It was such an amazing week with friends, family, and all the supporting around that tournament. It was amazing. And I felt like I was on my peak at that time, and I really prepared myself. I felt I'm in a good condition. I was healthy. I was very fit at that time. And the tournament itself was really, really amazing for me. And I could show my skill, and I love to play with the team, mixed and women. It was such a great experience for me. But then I had such a bittersweet ending in the mixed final, which I obviously didn't expect, because I felt good. I've not felt tired at that time. And I was like, I still have a lot of power left over, but my body told me that we need to stop at a certain point. And that was, I think it was the third set in the mixed final when I partly torn my plantar fascia in my foot.
So take me a little bit through that injury, because obviously it's something that's not so common. Everyone knows ACL injuries, thumb injuries, every dodgeballer knows that. But like tearing your plantar fascia is something that's not commonly known. So maybe take me through that situation and the time after and your recovery as well.
Yeah, I remember exactly how it happened. It was when Tisa got hit by a ball, and someone screamed on court, "Lisa, you need to save her." And at that moment, I made a jump forward to catch that ball, which I did. So I made a reflection catch. And then I felt that pain in my foot, like something I never experienced before. It was like a burning pain. And then I couldn't really put weight on my foot anymore. And then I was like, okay, that must be something big, because I cannot walk anymore. And I told my coach, Martin Tulnik, that he need to put me out from that court. But he, like, I don't know, there was kind of miscommunication, because Bruno didn't really realize that I hurt myself. So at a certain point, when I figured out I cannot really play anymore, I just went off court, which was not the smartest decision at that time, because someone else would have taken my spot on court if we did it the right way. And then our team doctor, Gabriele, came and took a look on my foot, and she told me, okay, Lisa, I think it might be your plantar fascia. And that's what it was at the end. Like, they were quite surprised about that injury, because they said it's super uncommon. Never heard about it before, but I did it. I made it possible to injure myself that way. Another one in the books for me. And yeah.
And so before we get into the main topic, like, take me through that injury, because you had a lot of injuries, but this was something very different. at least from the outside, because it's something where it's not so clear how long it takes. It's also very debilitating because you can't really walk or with a lot of impairment. And it's something that is just a really tiny thing actually, but it impairs you so much and there's so much uncertainty around it. So how was that process?
It was very frustrating for me because, as you mentioned right now, it wasn't quite sure how long the recovery will take me, how much time it needs to be good at the end again, and what the process might look like. I had to walk on crutches quite long. Then I got this air walker to protect my foot a little bit longer. But that was already like, I think 3 to 4 months of recovery, or to stabilize my foot and to give it time to recover. And then I had been in therapy. And half a year later, then I turned out to be pregnant, and everything changed at that time because I really couldn't focus that much on my foot again because I felt often dizzy and sick at that time, and it was a weird injury for me. Yeah.
Okay. And as you mentioned there, during that rehab process, you got pregnant. So that's basically the main topic I want to dive into a little bit. So you had to stop very abruptly, basically at the peak of your performance at the World Championships, at the home worlds. You were in top shape. You dominated the whole weekend. You got 3 golds basically, and then you ruptured your foot. And then from that rehab process, you directly went into pregnancy. And so on the one hand, quite a good, like in efficiency terms, that's quite a good time to like kill 2 birds with 1 stone, because you couldn't play dodgeball anyway. So did that make it a little bit easier that you knew you couldn't play anyways? Or how was that transition from going from injured to pregnant?
It made it easier, yes. I would have had the chance to join 1 league weekend, but I was like, it's not really worth it. I was pregnant for a month, and I was like, I don't really see the reason why starting again just for a weekend. So yeah, I made the decision to just have a long break, obviously, and it made it easier for me because otherwise I would have played that 1 weekend and I would have fell in love again with dodgeball. I mean, I never stopped loving dodgeball, but then I was like it would have made it harder for me to play that weekend, and I decided not to do it. And then I knew obviously it will be the longest break I will since playing dodgeball, and yeah, that's it basically.
And let's come at this from 2 perspectives. On the one side, you're a dodgeball player in your prime. Obviously, it's not a professional sport. You're not earning money from it. So you've got another life outside of it, but it's still a very big part of your life and identity. And then you also want to start a family. You become of an age where that's definitely something you think about. And how was like the balance between those? How were the feelings once you decided to want to start a family, and knowing that you wouldn't be able to play dodgeball for maybe 2 years or something like that?
Yeah, that time was emotionally challenging for me. I really felt a lot of fear of missing out. I missed being on court with my teammates and competing with the others, also improving and being just part of the game. But I really tried to still stay connected with the others. So I supported my team at every league day and every single tournament which took part in Vienna. I even traveled to the European Championships in Limerick. So dodgeball never really left my life at that time. But considering the fact just being on the side of the court made it hard at a lot of times for me. And I was very sad, and I knew that there will be the time when I will be on court again, as long as I'm still motivated, passionate enough. And yeah, that's how I felt at that time. There had been ups and downs for me, and there had been times when I was struggling, but there also had been times when I was dealing with it quite good. And I knew that there will be a comeback for me. It's just a break for now. And yeah, I had a lot of insecurities because I was like, okay, will the others, will I have been falling behind too much, or can I still keep up when I come back? And those were thoughts which were going on my mind at that time.
Mm. And what in that time, what sort of helped you get through it? You said you still stayed connected to the team. You went to league meets, you went to Euros. And obviously, that's sort of a bittersweet experience because, on the one side, it's great to be part of the whole thing. But then again, you're really close to it and can participate in the part of it that you really enjoy. So, what were sort of the tough parts about that? And what was helping you get through that?
Talking with others helped me getting through it. Obviously, I mean, my boyfriend Xaver Schmidt is also playing dodgeball, and he was a big support at that time. And he kept me motivated and told me that there will be a spot left for me when I want to come back. Maybe not being the wing player from the beginning again, but I will have the chance with my motivation and my skill that I can come back. And I believed in myself, and I knew if I will work hard on it, that there are chances for me. So I really talked a lot with other teammates as well, and they supported me. And at a certain moment, it wasn't such a big deal for me anymore. So I dealt with it and I accepted it, and I knew once the pregnancy is over and my body is telling me that I can come back, I will come back, and that's actually the only thing I was aiming for. So I stayed positive in my mind. I knew that I have the chance to come back, and that's what kept me motivated at that time.
Beautiful. Do you think, did it help you that there were many women on your team, especially or in Austria in the national squad, that already went through that process, and we had a lot of idols that sort of made that process coming back from a pregnancy and going back to the top level of playing? Was that
Definitely.
something?
I stayed in touch with both Katis and talked a lot with them. And I knew, because I had a good example, that it is possible to come back. And that also gave me a motivation booster at that time. So yeah, that definitely helped me, seeing that it's possible, because both of them made it possible also in a very short amount of time. They came back quite fast. I mean, obviously for Kati Koch, she had kind of pressure because she wanted to join the World Cup in Austria. I fully understand that decision. And also for Kati Weber, she decided to come back quite fast, and she made it possible as well. And they are both really great players, and I looked up to that, and I knew I can probably do the same if I just stay fit, and if I keep myself pushing and go to the gym and work out and recover enough from pregnancy. And that's what I'm doing right now.
So I think like the discrepancy of seeing dodgeball players and women who went through pregnancy, got their kids, and went back to the court, which is something that has really impressed me over the last few years. Also having kids and having seen that process firsthand, basically, and how much of a difference that makes, and how big of a change in your life having a child is on a physiological level, but also obviously just on a life matter. So do you have, was there anything outside of your dodgeball bubble, basically people who were like, I don't know, questioning the way you manage that, and we're like, okay, afterwards take it slow, maybe it's time to take a little bit of a step back and don't focus so much on dodgeball? Was there voices like that in your surrounding, basically?
Several voices,
Yeah.
but that already started with my injuries. So pregnancy was not really the point. It was like, basically my mom told me several times already, Lisa, this should be the moment where you might think about stopping playing dodgeball. You injured yourself already for the 600th time, and this could be a good time for you to stop, isn't it? And I was like, nah, I'm not really there yet. But obviously after pregnancy, a lot of people told me, do you really want to come back to dodgeball now? You have a baby, things change. You need to put your focus somewhere else. And I was always like, yeah, sure. Nah, I had a lot of people telling me that and questioning my decision as well, but they know how much I adore dodgeball, and they at the end they understand my decision, but they were still asking me if this isn't a sign to stop, because obviously injury and then pregnancy, this could be a good moment to stop. But for me, I didn't want to close that chapter in my life.
Because I think from the outside, if you don't have that inside perspective of dodgeballers, and obviously we're like, obviously you're going to come back and obviously you're going to play as soon as possible. But looking from the outside, this is probably a really weird thing that women after 3 months, 4 months go back at throwing balls at each other, which is for many people out there in general a quite weird concept to get their head around. So was that something that was influencing you at all, or were you always like, yeah, okay, I understand it, that's your opinion, but I don't care?
It did not influence me in my decision, because
not really in your
whole
decision, sorry, not in your decision,
yeah.
but like in your mental process of dealing with that situation.
No, it did not really influence my mental process neither. Of course, when they told me those things, I felt kind of an insecurity at that specific moment. But whenever this conversation had an end, I knew what I want and what I'm aiming for. And I'm a little bit bullheaded as well. So when I decide something, it has to be like that. And people can tell me things and I think about it, but at the end, I'm the one who doesn't really like to be influenced in a decision like that.
Okay. I think that's a very important thing, because obviously you have a very supportive net, and all of those examples we had before, like Kathi Weber, Kathi Koch, you now have really dodgeball families. Like your partners play dodgeball. Also, your whole family sort of knows about that world really much. But for other people where maybe their partner isn't that involved in dodgeball, it might be much harder. And there are maybe many more voices like that are telling them maybe it's not such a good idea. And there are many reasons why you should stop. And so if you're alone in that situation, it probably can be quite influential and maybe just burdening to have all those conflicting voices and your feelings that you really want to play dodgeball, and maybe you feel bad about that you want to play dodgeball again, and everyone telling you have so many other responsibilities that are so much more important as well. So it can probably be a tough thing, but it's cool that for you that was at least in hindsight quite clear cut. I forgot my follow-up question, but so was there something now looking back on childbirth, on pregnancy, and on your comeback, without going into much detail because we're going to go into that later, but is there something where you were like, you knew a lot about it because there were obviously other people who did it before you, but was there something that you were surprised by or that you didn't expect to be the way it was?
Thinking about it, not really. I knew it needs to take another level of organization, but since Saba and I play for the same club, like in the same club, we knew that we will just try to organize ourselves the best way possible. So he can join one practice per week and I can join one practice per week. And yeah, I was just open for the process, and I really didn't have a lot of expectations how things will be at that time. I just stayed open for it, and yeah, that's not really, there's nothing really more to say about that, honestly.
Oh, that's completely fair. Okay, and so talk me a little bit about your process. Because you obviously were early on focused on getting back to playing dodgeball. Obviously, that was not your main focus at that time, but still it was something you were thinking about. And how did you try to keep yourself in shape, or how did you try to prepare your body and your mind for that comeback during pregnancy?
During pregnancy. So Xaver and I moved to another apartment in March, which was kind of challenging for my body at that time since I was pregnant, which gave me a little setback because I felt like I've been asking too much from my body at that time. So I was just like trying to walk around to keep to have my steps. I was still cycling a lot and I was doing sports on a lighter level. And I just enjoyed the summer, and I didn't really want to focus too much on my comeback. Just I wanted to enjoy my pregnancy and to live my life the best way possible. And I knew that when giving birth, then there will be the moment where I will think about how will my recovery and my comeback will look like. So I was not really thinking that much about it while I was being pregnant, honestly.
Mm.
Especially since everyone else also had a break in summer, since the European Championship in Limerick took part at the end of June. There was a long break in summer for everyone. And dodgeball was not that present at that time for me, to be fair enough.
Mm. Okay. And did you have like in your mind, like sort of a timetable where you thought about when you would come back, when you would start training again? Was there sort of a plan, or were you just figuring out as it went?
No, there was definitely a plan since we knew in autumn already, like, or at the end of summer, when there will, like, we have the dates for the league days, and but we also had already the schedules for when our team will play. And I knew that there will be a long break for the Wolfpack women team in January and March because we were not supposed to play at that time. And then I was like, okay, I really need to play in December, so 4 months after giving birth, because otherwise my first women league day would be in April, and I didn't want to have such a long break. That's why when I was like, okay, and I have 3.5 months of time to come back for my first league weekend. So that was my aim and that was the goal. And I was working on that to be able to play at that weekend. But I also told myself as well, if my body is not ready yet at that time, it's probably not the smartest decision to play, but I will see how things will figure out. And I was in a good shape for those circumstances I had been in. And that's when I played my first league weekend, and that was the plan I had after I gave birth.
Mm-hmm. And so from giving birth to that league meet, what did you do to prepare yourself for it?
I joined a lot of recovery courses. Honestly, I don't know how to say it in English. After giving birth, like you have those courses where you work on your cervix and on just feeling your body on another level again. And I went to the gym 3 months after for the very first time, but I did a lot of courses at home and working on getting back. And then I joined the first dodgeball practice in December, so 3 weeks before league tournament. But I didn't really start fully playing dodgeball. I skipped all the jumping parts to give my body more time. And that's basically it, how it looked like at that
and
time.
Did you have a professional help, or did you figure that out by yourself, or what kind of resources did you use to inform like your comeback and rehab process?
So first of all, my midwife supported me in that process, but my biggest resource is Savo Schmidt, which is a physiotherapist as well, and he helped me with a program. But I also had courses with a trainer, and they helped me in recovering. So this had been my supporting system at that time.
Mm-hmm. And apart from Xava, did your like trainer or midwife, did they have any opinions on when you should be returning to dodgeball, or if dodgeball was a good idea at that point?
So especially my midwife told me I should not start that early and I need to give my body more time. She understood that my passion and motivation to start early is there, but she also told me that being pregnant is a process of 9 months, and my body also needs that time to recover, especially if you do some stop and go sports. So if she would have recommended play when I should start to play dodgeball again, she would have she would have said that I should start like after half a year approximately, but then also on a smooth level. Obviously, I know that it was probably too early to start in December, so 4 months after pregnancy. But at the same time, we registered for the Udo tournament in February. And I was like, I need to join a league day before playing a tournament, because I don't really want to have such a long break of dodgeball, then playing a tournament without any other kind of practice before. That was why that's the reason why I decided to start that early somehow. Yeah.
Okay. And how were you very confident about that choice? Because obviously, if your midwife says something, and she probably has a bit of knowledge about that, but obviously she has no idea what dodgeball is, and she has no idea about what your aims and goals are, at least from her standpoint. So how was it for you to feel confident enough to go to training 3 months after to do that preparation? How did you feel from a mental and physical standpoint, and how ready did you feel, and how good did it feel, or how did you feel during that process?
Mentally, I felt quite secure because I was really listening to my body, and I tried to really feel my body and to see is my body ready yet or not. Because I knew if I would feel insecure, I would not play in December already, because in my experience, whenever I felt insecure about something, there was a higher risk for me to injure myself. And that's really the least thing I would have wanted at that time, to injure myself after pregnancy, which the risk still was there, and it's still here right now. But I considering the physical part, I knew that I was not 100% ready, obviously. I was still very slow. I was not really that agile. I was not really jumpy and stuff like that. But I knew that I felt quite good enough to play that league day. And I told myself for that league day, whenever I'm not feeling good, I would stop at that time. But I was feeling quite confident on court, and it worked out quite well for me.
And did you talk to the other Katis about their return, their comeback? Did you have like any resources that you used to inform or build the confidence in that strategy of yours?
Yeah, I had a lot of catch up with Kati Koch, and we had several talks about it, because I also wanted to have her opinion, especially since she's also a physiotherapist, and she went through the same process. On her side, she would not have recommended it either. She would have said that I should give myself more time, but she can also understand my point, and probably if she would be me, she would do the same, but she would still not recommend it. But I should just take it slowly and listen to my body and see what's the feedback. And that's basically what she said at the end of the day.
And so a bit of time later, now it's around 6 months after you gave birth. Looking back on it, is there anything that you would change, or were you like, are you happy with the way it went? What were the obstacles, or what were the parts that were harder or easier than you thought?
It was, so giving birth itself was a tough experience, obviously, but I surprisingly felt ready to come back quite soon after. And I knew if I want to come back that early, I need to work on it, and I need to work on it hard, and I need to stay constant, and I need to really work on it. And I needed also a lot of supporting system at that time, because someone had to take care of Ida, my baby daughter. And I would not really change anything. I feel like the way I did it, it felt quite good and natural for me. And I don't really see that I could have made something different at that time, because it worked out for me and for Xava and for us. And um, we tried we tried to give myself some free time to work on my body, to stay healthy, to eat the best way possible, and to nurture my body. And that's how the process went. And there's actually really not something I would change.
That is really good to hear.
Yeah.
That is cool. And do you feel like in that first few months, few days, few weeks, obviously a lot has changed. A lot has changed with your overall situation. Also physically, some stuff has changed, and you've been through a lot over the last year, basically. And so, what was my point? I've lost my point there somewhere. I try to get it back. No, I've lost it. Maybe I'll come back to it. But on another note, so what would be something that you would recommend now to future mothers or future players who get into similar situations? After 6 months, you've obviously had some experience. You've also had a lot of talks with other people who were in that situations. You had some people, professionals in that area, like midwives, trainers, and stuff like that. So you have a lot of experience. What would you advise future mothers or people in that situations? What were like takeaways for you?
To give yourself more time, to put less pressure on you. That's something I would recommend. I'm not really the best example for that, because as I already mentioned before, I feel like I started too early, not because my body is telling me yet, but maybe at a certain point or later, my body will tell me you started too early. But for now, it feels quite good. But I feel like we are young, we have the chance to come back, and we should give ourselves the time to come back. And there's no need to put too much pressure on that process. That's something I would probably tell the others. And maybe I would do it like if there will be another pregnancy at a certain point in my life, I would give myself more time to come back and ease the process a bit.
So is there, as you said, you wouldn't change anything, but you would still recommend to people to maybe do it a little bit differently. So would you say for you that process was great, or that's the way it had to be, but still maybe if you consider all the aspects, you could give more weight on other things than, for example, dodgeballs, or your goal of playing dodgeball as fast as possible again?
The thing is that the situation for me is different than for others who had a pregnancy, because I had an injury before my pregnancy, so it had been a really, really long break for me. And that's the reason why I started that early, because I was like, if I'm not starting yet, the next opportunity for me playing dodgeball will be in April, and this would have been almost a break of 2 years, and I could not really deal with that kind of pause of not being able to play dodgeball. And that's why for my specific situation, I started that early, because I really could not stay at home anymore, not being able to join practice or join a league day. But considering the fact of not having an injury before pregnancy, I would have given myself more time to recover. And that's why I feel like it's a bit different than to Kathi Weber or Kathi Koch, because when they turned out to be pregnant at that time, for example, they were not injured before. So they played dodgeball, then they got pregnant, and then they had their break. But for me, it was like I already had a break of half a year, and then the break continued due to my pregnancy.
Yeah. All right. So I think I found my point from before again, which is like, obviously a lot of stuff changed, as I said, but as a dodgeball playing mom, you have sort of the thing where you're really early in your new life with your baby, with your partner, and things change. But you have also like a goal for yourself, and I feel like that can be such a beautiful thing and such an empowering thing, but it can also be a little bit of a stress and a burden. So how did you feel like the balance was for you specifically to have like a really motivating goal where you also maybe it was easier for you to take really the time to prioritize your recovery, to be really focused on getting your body back to fit, to take time for yourself as well, which is something that, from my experience, young mothers or young families really struggle often with. So, was that something that you feel like was a very positive thing, or was it also very stressful because you have a lot of your on your plate anyways, and then there is this part as well where you want to go back to dodgeball in 3 months?
I was torn apart at a certain moment because I was like, I cannot really be selfish anymore. I mean, there is another responsibility, a chosen responsibility in life for me now, and it's my daughter. And I want to give her all the attention she deserves. But at the same time, you still try to be yourself, and you don't really want to lose yourself in life. And I'm not saying you're losing yourself while having a baby, but obviously life changes and your priorities shifts at that time. So yeah, it was challenging for me to find a good way of being a mom and still trying to focus on my needs. That was something which challenged me at that time, and I'm still working on it. Obviously, she's just a half a year old, and I feel like it's gonna be part of my priority shifts will be part of my life for a long, long time for now. But it was, yeah, obviously it was challenging for me. It was something completely new, and I kind of had to get used to it. And yeah.
But yeah, absolutely. And but do you think like for you it was more positive because you said it was a struggle and it is a tension and a balance that you have to find, and that is something you're gonna have to do for pretty much the next 20 years or something, or maybe beyond that. But do you think like it was also maybe helpful to have that outside focus to really find a way to be a little bit selfish and care for yourself? Because that is something where I think also it's a topic that is very current, I think, everywhere, where it's like self-care and stuff like that. And that is something that is really tough when your life changes completely and you have a baby and all your focus is on that baby. And maybe that is something I'm projecting now, but maybe like your parents are like, oh, that is the most important thing in the world now, and you think, yeah, it is, and that's my one and only, but also I want to take care about myself. And I think personally that's a very healthy thing, and I think it might be a net positive, because if you take care of yourself and you have your own things to work on, maybe it makes you just a more resourceful, resilient person, which is something that your baby and your family can profit from again. But like, how do you feel that balance was for you, or does that make sense what I'm saying to you?
Yeah, I completely understand what you mean. And what I figured out, obviously I couldn't before because I've not been a mom at that time. It's very easy to be, it's easier to be a good dad because quite fast you can be a bad mom. And once you take care of yourself or you take some free time for yourself, everyone is asking like, where's the mom? Because the babies, you're still, so for myself, I'm still breastfeeding, but we organize ourselves by giving her the bottle once in a while with my milk, and so I can join practice, for example. But I felt guilt at a certain point, but I felt guilt because society is having a special opinion. I feel like they have a special opinion how the role of a mother and the role of a father has to be. And once you take a time for yourself, people quite easily judge that decision or ask why isn't the mom there? Why is daddy taking care of the baby? And I feel like it's very beautiful that they have such a great connection and that he's being a dad. He's just present and he's there, and that we can split this kind of responsibility and that it's not all on me. And that he's also making it possible for me to give me such free space to get back to sports and to be able to take care of myself. And I feel like that's really important, that you are also like for your mind, and not only for your body but also for your mind, to just stay positive and to recharge and get some power again.
Yeah, because I think that is such an important thing. And as you said, like the expectations of society, whatever that exactly is something that you feel. And especially as a mother, I've experienced it as well, not as a mother, as a father. And as you said, it's much easier in that position. When I take care of my children or I walk in the park with them, everyone is like, wow, great job. And I get a lot of like admiring looks that I'm taking care of my children. And I see that a lot of times. And also, like, my wife doesn't get the same attention because obviously for lots of people out there and lots of generations as well, it's how it should be.
Yeah.
But I think like in our little bubble or our community, it's quite different and much more progressive, and people are much more aware of how it is in this century, basically. So do you feel like, again, from the dodgeball world or your little community, not just the dodgeball world, but your work and friends around, and like your parents and that whole bubble out there, is there a big difference in how they view that balance that you are finding for yourself?
They are quite supportive, and they understand the situation I'm in, and they fully get why I wanted to come back, and why, I mean, it's still a passion in my life, and they are happy for me that I'm able to continue with that passion, and they really try to support us the best way possible. And there were there was never any bad blood in it. They were really being positive and helping out as much as possible. And I'm really happy about that too, because it's not something I expected at the beginning. Honestly, I didn't really know what to expect. I was kind of curious how things will be once Rita is here, but they really made it possible for us to start that, or for me to be able to start that early again, especially considering the fact of breastfeeding. Making it quite harder for me than for Xava to take, like, to not being able to take care of her at that time. And yeah, my family and my friends were always really supporting in that process.
That is beautiful. So when you say like society, you sometimes get the feeling from the outside that it's not how a mother should behave. From some ways, it's not something that is like in your close proximity, but it's more like of a general feeling, or is like, where does that come from?
From personal experiences, there had been a moment when Xaver was walking with Frida on the streets, and another person came, and they were like, "And where is the mother?" And he was like, "Yeah, the mother is having a good time with her friends," because that's what it was at the end. Um, and they were kind of shocked about the fact why the mother is not here and why he's the only one taking care of the baby. And I was like, yeah, he is the father. He's also able to take care of his own daughter. It doesn't always necessarily need to be me. Of course, when it comes to feeding, as we chose to breastfeed her, it needs to be me at that time. But there are also a lot of other moments where he can exactly do the same. And yeah, that had been a situation where I felt like, okay, people have an opinion, and sometimes also a very strong opinion. But it's more from the outside than the inner circle, to be honest.
And is there something you could like, I don't know if it's advice or something to think about, like people, you said you're in a very supportive environment, and hopefully many people are, but maybe you are in an environment where you are a dodgeball playing young mother or someone who's currently pregnant and who has more of those outside voices that maybe go in that towards that direction. Like, what would you tell those people? How should they make their decisions, or how can you empower those people who may not have that supportive environment around themselves?
I mean, it's always easier to say, but I feel like I would tell those people to not let those opinions get too close to them. that they should believe in what they do, and obviously they try to be the best version of themselves and to be a good mother or father, and it has to work out for them and not for the other. I feel like people always have an opinion about something, but they don't really know the circumstances. They don't really know how it looks on the inner. And I feel like I would tell those people that they should not let them win to create some kind of insecurities that way.
Mm. Yeah, I love that, because obviously it's a very personal situation, and it's a situation what every young parent realizes is that there are lots of people with opinions about how parenting should work and how everything surrounding that. Like, there are lots of experts on those topics, and there are so many perspectives and opinions, and that is really a part that you have to learn at some point, how to filter that for yourself and what to make of it. And as you said, trusting your own beliefs, your own situations, your own like, so
Instincts.
yeah, instincts and factors. Like, obviously your midwife is going to say it's better for your body if you wait for 6 months, and obviously that makes sense, and that is something to consider, and that is something to take serious. But there are a lot of implications, and for some people that's definitely the right thing to do. But 6 months is a number, and there is physiological background to it, and it makes sense, but it's still not a fixed thing that is important for everyone. And there are lots of ways to bend it in either direction. For some people, 6 months is way too early, but if you are a person that is really well prepared, really fit, taking care of their body, has the perfect or a really good supporting environment around them, knows how to take the pressure out of the situation and really work with their own body, then it's possible to do it sooner. And maybe there are some consequences, but also after 6 months, it's not a guarantee that there aren't any consequences. So it never, just because you listen to experts or people with opinion, it doesn't make the certainty 100%. And so you always have to find your own way, and what works for you, your family, your baby, your surrounding, your specific situation, that is so much more important. And I feel that is such an empowering thing about that situation. If you can really figure that out for yourself, then it's fine, and you will be insecure, and you will have a lot of discussions with your partner. Was that the right decision? What should we do when my mom said that, and this person on the bus said that, and Instagram says that? But yeah, I think that is a really powerful message.
And it's also still, and we are also in a learning process. It's something completely new to the both of us. And there will be situations where we will admit it was probably not the best decision we made, but that's what makes us a human being, learning from mistakes and trying to figure out things. It's not that easy in life to make the right decision. And I feel like once you are acting, like making decisions based on your heart, it's always better than letting other people tell you how to live your life.
Absolutely. So you've done really good, at least from the outside it looks like that. You've done a really great job of handling all of those juggling with all those new responsibilities. And so you came back to league, your first league day. I saw it from the outside, and it looked maybe slightly slower than what we're used from you, but from the very first beginning, I felt like, okay, there is like no uncertainty again. There is still a little bit of caution, a little bit of rust, but it still felt like you were very sure of what you were doing, and you knew your limits, but you also tried to figure out where your physical limits are. And you really, at least from the outside, it seemed like you were getting back really fast. How did it feel from the inside?
Mm, I was struggling, honestly, because especially with my own expectations, because I didn't really know what to expect. How will it be compared to the practices I had before? Because I remember the first practice I joined after pregnancy, it was a complete disaster. I was like, okay, I'm unable to throw a ball, and this was really always my like the best thing for me, like throwing balls, throwing them hard. And then I was like, okay, I really don't have the power anymore. And that made it kind of hard for me because everyone else kept improving at that time. And don't get me wrong, it's amazing because for the sport and for our team, it's the best thing possible that we all improve. But it also puts a lot of pressure on me at that time. And I took that pressure with me on courts. I remember that I was kind of stressed, and usually I'm never really stressed, even if it's a World Cup or a European Championship. Always kind of um, relaxed compared to other players. In my head, I was always focused. I knew what I can trust on, and I knew my skills, but I was insecure at that time. But then I quite fast figured out that I'm still the same old me, just slightly different, considering my physical status at that time. But I really enjoyed that first league day. It was satisfying because we won against you guys, and our team struggled a lot in the last league season. And just enjoying the happiness in our team, and that the girls were believing in themselves again, and it was a nice start for me at that league day.
Mm-hmm. And from that, take me to UDO. Like a few weeks after we went to UDO, how was that going to a tournament as a family?
We stayed quite open-minded about the tournament. We told ourselves we will see how it works out. We will stay spontaneous if the situation needs it. So if it doesn't really work out with Peter, we will adapt to that situation. Also, we talked about the fact that I will be more in the focus in that tournament. So if someone needs to take care of Peter more than we expected at the beginning, it will be Xaver. Since I had such a long break, he told me I can fully focus on myself in the tournament if it comes to the fact that we cannot both play, because we knew we will have the supporting system over there. So no one from our family joined us. It was only Xaver, me, and Frida going to Paris. And so we knew that there will be other teammates who will support us while being on court, and that worked out quite well. So Frida was kind of relaxed, and it was not such a big deal for her. And we were happy about the fact that we were both being able to play in mixed division as well. And yeah, that's basically it. It was easier than we thought, because we thought it might come to a point where one of us has to stop, and that would have also been okay for us because we stayed open-minded the whole time. But there was never a need for any of the both of us to stop playing at that tournament, because it worked out quite well with all the support we had over there.
Mm-hmm. Great. That is really cool. And I saw it, obviously. Always some different baby sitters for Frida, which was really nice, having like that little kids corner with Leni and Frida, which is something I think we're going to see more of in the future, and which is a really nice touch to the whole community as well. So take me a bit through that tournament on a competitive level, and how you felt playing, progressing through that tournament.
I didn't really have so many expectations at the beginning, but if there was one expectation I had, it was the fact that I wanted to really focus on women division. I was like, okay, I'm gonna play in mixed, but obviously it's faster and it's harder to adapt for me. And I was like, I want to really come as far as possible in the women division. Unfortunately, we did not really succeed on that, even though we had a lot of good players in our team and the skill level was there. We didn't really connect as a team. It was hard for us in certain games to succeed on it, and it was frustrating for me. And I was like, okay, but specifically women division was the aim for me to come as far as possible. So that was hard at the moment. And which is kind of unusual for me, is that I was not really believing in mixed division for myself, not for the team, but I was like, okay, I'm not really being able to help that team because I'm so slow still, and I'm not gonna be able to show the best version of myself, and I'm probably not going to play that much in the team because the other girls are way stronger than me. So then I was quite surprised about the fact that I was, I would say, performing not that bad in mixed division. I had it took me a bit of time to find into that tournament in both divisions. But then when the group stages had been over and we went into the knockout phase, everything was a bit easier for me. Don't know why, but I had to take some time to find into the tournament. And from the knockout phases going on, it was really a nice tournament for me. And I felt like I'm getting back to the old me. Still needs a lot of time and work on that. But yeah, it was a good tournament to start for me after pregnancy.
Okay, that's a really like scary proposal for all your opponents, that they know you became the women's MVP, the mixed MVP, and you're not even there yet. So what? Because obviously I coached you in the mixed final and I saw you play, and it felt like you were pretty much back. Obviously, there is a little bit of speed difference, and obviously there is a bit of rust, which is completely normal. But still, there was so much still there again from the old prime Lisa, the way you caught, the way you traded yourself with the other man in the mixed team, the way you made your hits, and like again the presence on court was much more like what we've seen in the past, and so it was definitely a very deserving MVP nomination. So how did it feel playing that close game and getting that MVP nomination?
Yeah, somehow everything came together at that moment. As you said, I ended up winning the MVP in the mixed final against the host team. I've been fully focused in that game, and there had been never a moment when I was like, okay, I made a super bad decision, or I always believed in myself, and I also felt like my teammates believed in me, and they really pushed me and gave me such warming and nice feedback, and also telling me that I'm really uh, playing on a high level right now, and that felt good, and that gave me the motivational boost I needed at that time. And yeah, it's the moment when I, I won the title. It felt kind of amazing, honestly, because it was, to be fair enough, it was a very bittersweet feeling for me at the World Cup final, because I really, really wanted to win an MVP title, because I felt like I was on the peak of my career. But in the mixed division, it was not possible since I injured myself, and Tesa really deserved that title. There is no doubt in that. But being able to win an MVP title after that long break really, really made me happy. And I was so surprised. I mean, I would not say I did not expect it at all, but I was not like standing there acting like, okay, it's gonna be me definitely, because there had been also very strong players on court as well from the other teams. But I was really, really happy, and it showed me that it's possible to come back even after such a long break. And there is a lot to come this year, and I'm not giving up, and I want to come back even stronger in the next months, and I'm gonna work on that and show them what I'm capable of.
Love that. I'm really looking forward to seeing that. So, from that tournament and the experiences you collected playing dodgeball and traveling with your family to dodgeball tournaments as well, what are your takeaways? What are things that you said you went there with few expectations, which I think is a really good way to start it, and probably your recipe for success. But also after experiencing now UDO and also league days, what are like the ingredients for making it possible as a dodgeball family to play at a really high level, to perform, and also have that balance of family and making everyone happy?
First of all, we are really lucky with our daughter. She's very easy to handle right now, which makes it obviously easier for us as a family to attend such a tournament. Because yeah, if the baby doesn't really how can I say that? If she's not really in the mood for something like that, it makes it harder because you need to give her a lot of attention and stuff like that. But she's currently at an age where it works out well for us. And I feel like you just need to try out things, and you will see at the time if it works out or not. And you always need to stay open-minded, I guess. Because once you see it doesn't work out, then you will learn from that as well. But it's all about organization and communication and supporting each other. Of course, there had not been really time for us to recover, because if the like at the time when we were not being on court, we had to take care of her, and the nights were quite short for us as well because she had been in a new environment. But you just get used to that. I mean, or at least we got used to that, and we dealt with it in the best possible way.
Mm. And was it tough for you to really switch off on the court and be like, okay, now I'm just a player, not a mom. I don't think about where is Frida, who is taking care of her, is she crying, does she need me? Was it possible for you to completely like sort of separate that out of your mind?
No, not at all, because there had been a moment when we played against I don't remember anymore. We played against French team mixed up with the Northern Ireland player, like Adam Hill.
Licorn too.
Yeah, Licorn too, exactly. And in the halftime, Eva came on court with Frida and told me, "Oh, she really needs her mother right now. I cannot really calm her down anymore." And for me, at that point, I knew my whole priority is gonna be obviously on my daughter. It's just a game. It's not the end of the world. I'm not gonna continue playing. And it was not easy for me to stay in the game, because after that coincidence, I knew there could be another time again when someone is taking care of Frida, where she needs me right now. And that's where I need to stay open-minded to leave the court and let the other continue playing. That was not easy for me, but it wasn't a problem either to leave the court at that time.
And do you feel like your priorities, obviously they have shifted, but also the way you experience a tournament like that, or dodgeball in general, winning or losing, is there like a different feel about it where there are other priorities as well, and there are lots of factors that maybe may not make it possible to completely commit to that situation, where you're like feeling differently or enjoying it in a different way or seeing it from a different perspective?
Yeah, it was hard not to fully focus on the game, obviously, because I prefer to be fully in the game and not having any distractions. But I need to be aware about the fact, if I bring my baby to a tournament and other people take care of her, that there might be a moment where you cannot fully stay in the game and probably need to adapt to that situation. So yeah, at the beginning it was annoying in a way to not being able to focus on the game, even though she was in good hands and she was happy and there was no need to take care of her. I had some situations when I was being on court playing at the moment, and then I was thinking, like, is she doing okay? Does she needs me and stuff like that? But it was just at the beginning where I felt like that, and through the tournament it got better for me. So for example, in the final, in the mixed final, I really did not feel like I was not in the game. I was focused, and I knew if someone needs me, then I will adapt to the situation. But as long as everything is fine, I'm gonna stay in the game in a mental way.
Mm-hmm. And like the whole experience, because obviously it's much different if you go to a dodgeball tournament and after a game you have to take care of your child, and in the evening you have to take care of your child, and so a lot of the social aspect changes. How was that for you?
Farah and I talked about it, and we were kind of sad not being able to join those situations. But life changes with a child, and you also need to take you also need to accept those situations. And we tried to give each other some free time. So when I brought her to bed, he joined the group downstairs and had some beers with the other teammates. And then we switched, and that's how you just adapt to a situation like that, and you try to give yourself free time and make the best out of it. That's basically it. Yeah.
Mm. Yep. Fair. I think I don't have anything to add there. Like maybe as a summary for people who are maybe in that situation, will be in that situation in the future, or maybe have nothing to do with that situation and maybe just see it from the outside and can maybe support or understand people in that situation better. What are like your takeaways now? What are the most important things for this whole thing to work? To have a family, play dodgeball at a highly competitive level, play at some tournaments, play at league times, at league days, and finding the balance or working progressively on finding that balance. What are the key ingredients from your perspective?
So to realize balancing being a mom and an athlete is definitely a challenge. I'm not gonna lie about that. And obviously also the priority shifts, as we talked about it before, and the time you have is limited, and also your energy is not on the same level as before, and not everything is predictable, but at the same time, it can give you some kind of a new motivation. And I feel like if you really are passionate about that sport and if you love it, everything can be possible. You just take another path to make it possible, and it looks different, but it doesn't necessarily need to be a bad thing. It's just another way of working out things. And yeah, for me, this journey is not just about performances or titles. As you said before, it's also about resilience. It's about getting to know yourself on a new level. And yeah, you can also prove yourself that you can come back stronger, no matter the circumstances. You just need to work a little bit harder.
I absolutely love that, because I think that is a very important message to maybe to put that all together, because it often seems like it's a burden, and it is. In many ways it's a burden, because there are many more responsibilities. You have to take care of a lot of stuff, lots of stuff changes, and a lot of stuff that you really enjoyed about the whole experience maybe are compromised in some ways. But it's also like a new superpower, sort of, or at least that's the way I feel about it, where you have another perspective, you have different priorities. In order to make that happen, there has to be so much more efficiency and proficiency in these situations that you can really grow immensely, because you're basically forced to grow. Either you grow or it won't work, or it won't work in a way that is like satisfying to you. And it also shifts your perspective, that sometimes maybe you don't put that sort of pressure on winning, losing, that you're more stable in, because you know there is something that is more important, and it's just a game. And that can sometimes help. And in some situations you can still lock in, and you know what it means to be really focused in certain situations. And there are things like maybe sleep deprivation, or a baby that is sick, or whatever. There are lots of constraints, but really handling them as a team, and I mean you and your partner and also the community around it, is an experience to really grow from that situation and maybe unlock that new level. And I think I've seen it from all our women players who came back from childbirth, and it's like they have a different level now, where they're just more focused. They know exactly what they want. There is not so much confusion about things. They don't care about a tiny bullshit that maybe freaks other players out. You're much more stable in certain situations. So it is a burden, and it's a lot of responsibility, but it's also sort of forces you to become even better or more focused in certain areas. Do you feel that is something that resonates with you?
Yeah, definitely. Because I want to show not only to myself that it's that motherhood and high level sport can coexist, but just in a different way. And so I agree on fully what you said. And yeah, it just might look different, but it also requires some adjustments, but it's definitely possible. and it's also a wonderful growing process I'm in, and I get to know myself on a new level, and it's kind of amazing to see what I'm still capable of whilst having a baby. But it's all about the supporting system you have. I feel like otherwise it would not work out, obviously, but we have the supporting system surrounding, like our family is supporting us a lot, but also the dodgeball community itself makes it possible. That's also a huge part, which I'm not taking for granted. And I appreciate it a lot that we have the help we got, for example, also at the Udo. People actually were fighting about who is taking care of Frida, which makes it even easier for us that you don't really need to ask someone if they can help you out. They already ask if you need something, and that's wonderful to see that people support you.
Absolutely, for sure. So maybe I want to summarize a few of those points just to put them in the package, because you like mentioned a lot of things that are, I think, are really beautiful and really important for people to understand. Well, like, I think what you said, and obviously add or correct me if I put it in a wrong light, is that there are some things that are really important for making it happen. And as you said, the supportive system is immensely important. Obviously, if you have family, friends that can support you, that is amazing. But also the dodgeball community is a place where you can really go with a child and pretty much always have helping hands. And that is also something that is really beautiful, because it makes it possible to go without parents to a weekend in Paris, and your child is almost always in very good hands. Sometimes Flo takes care of them, but it's fine. And then also what you said before is like not having too many expectations and going into it with an open mind and being like, yeah, it's going to be different, but we're going to be able to handle it together, and we're resilient enough and have enough resources that we're going to handle the challenges that arise. And we don't put too many expectations how we want to play, how it's going to turn out, but be flexible in the moment, and also know if there are things that the baby needs, then everything aside doesn't matter. And that is fine as well. And that's a process to learn that, because obviously all of us players are in a way a little bit egoistic and want to put ourselves and our main focuses on the first place. But once a baby is there, that just shifts. And that's a very natural and healthy thing, but it's something we have to get over. But once you realize that, it loses its sting almost, and it frees you up that I'm completely focused, but still, if she needs me, she needs me, and that is fine. And I can trust my team as well to step away, and they will handle it as well. And I have enough trust in my surrounding that is fine as well. And another point, which I'm blinking on again, is like what you said before, is like believing and trusting in your process, and also that your way of handling things is very individual and very different to others. And maybe some people think it's weird that you bring in a 3-month-old baby to a venue where it's loud and people are throwing balls around, but that doesn't matter, because that's for you, that is fine. And for Frida, she will adapt. And if it's not fine for her, okay, then we take her outside, we put her in a safe space. So it's not something where you're fixed on certain situations, but there is so much possibility. And I think that is something lots of players before have shown. Like Kathi Weber is for me the prime example for that, where Leni has been all around the world, has been to every tournament, and she's adapted to it and has a loving, huge family around the globe that knows her, that tends for her. And that is such a beautiful thing. And children are very resilient, and that doesn't mean that they don't have some certain needs, and we have to take them very serious. But if you work in synchronicity and talk with your family, then a lot is possible. And it doesn't matter what people from the outside think, because they don't know what your current situation is and what is going on in your life. And to trust that and be confident in that process is, I think, so important. And that is something that also gives you such a superpower in different situations, because it's much more hard to rattle a person like that really knows where they stand in their life and can handle that complex of a situation in that environment.
I fully agree on everything you just said right now. There's like really nothing to add on.
Perfect. All right, let's bring this to an end. The last question from me is like, if Frida watches this in 8, 10, 20 years, listens to this episode, what is like something that you, as a really role model in this sport of dodgeball, many people are looking up to you. You are a role model for lots of young players, but also lots of veterans. What is something that you want your daughter to know from you as a player, as a person, as a mom who is an MVP, also her mother that loves her, and like about that balance that you are striking in life? What is important for you to tell your daughter?
That giving up is never an opportunity, and that if you work hard enough, you will get what you want. Like you can achieve everything in life. You just need to work on it and give it your all. And passion can bring you very, very far in life. That's what I would tell her.
Beautiful. And I would also say a good health insurance is probably key as well.
Yeah.
With those genes.
Indeed. Forgot that point. Yeah, fair enough.
That's very important. So Lisa,
it brings you also a lot of money, which is not that bad, to be honest.
You're sort of a professional dodgeball player. There are probably few people who have made that much money of breaking themselves playing dodgeball.
Indeed.
So sponsored by her insurance. This podcast is sponsored by Ray-Ban. Don't forget it. Check it out. Lisa, it's been an absolute pleasure having you here. Obviously, you're the second eagle because I obviously talk more to international guests because we talk more and I know a lot about you, but it was still really nice to talk about that specific part. And I think it's a very important topic. Thanks for being open and talking so openly about insecurities, stuff you had to go through. I think it's really cool. And thanks for hopping on. See you soon.
Thanks for inviting me. Bye. See you soon.
Bye-bye.